me to name her his last name. I didn't want to. Just in case something like this happened, he denied her.
There you go.
Now that's a first.
He waited for my daughter to be weighed and wiped off, and he told me, that's a white man's baby, and walked out of the hospital room.
What?
She came out really
That's how she came out.
She didn't look like that.
She been in the womb.
She had a lock on her phone with her finger.
Right, so how did you use her finger?
She was asleep at the time, and I put her finger on the phone, and she continued to stay asleep.
The courtroom drama kicks off with a friendly hello from the judge. The judge greets the parties involved in the case, Hernandez versus Hernandez. The judge is introduced and welcomes everyone to the courtroom, setting a formal yet courteous tone for the proceedings. You can almost feel the anticipation in the air as everyone settles in for what promises to be a roller coaster of emotions.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Hernandez versus Hernandez.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Hernandez, 4 years ago, you met and then married your much younger but seemingly perfect man. You say your estranged husband started denying you and your now 3-year-old daughter, Liana.
Right out of the gate, Ms. Hernandez drops a bombshell about her younger estranged husband. Ms. Hernandez claims her estranged husband began denying her and their 3-year-old daughter, Liana, after he found a younger woman. She emotionally describes the impact of his denial on both her and her daughter, highlighting the child's attachment to her father. It's like a soap opera, but with legal documents and less dramatic pauses.
After he found another younger woman, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hernandez, you claim that during the marriage you often spent weeks at a time on a fishing boat for work, only to find out upon returning home that your wife had other men in and out of your house while you were at sea.
Mr. Hernandez isn't buying any of it, and he's ready to set the record straight. Mr. Hernandez counters by asserting that he spent long periods away for work and discovered upon return that his wife was unfaithful. He expresses his doubts about being Liana's biological father, driven by his belief in his wife's infidelity and a desire to prove his non-paternity. The plot thickens, and you can't help but wonder what's going to be revealed next.
You and your girlfriend are here to prove Liana is not yours. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Hernandez, how was your husband's denial affecting you and your daughter?
It's hard for me to put my daughter down to sleep. All she does is says, dad, 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 all day.
How old is she?
She's 3. She'll be 4 in December.
The judge dives deeper, asking about little Liana. Judge Lake inquires about the age of the child, Liana, who is nearing 4 years old, emphasizing the child's awareness and emotional needs. This moment stresses the child's understanding of her situation, particularly her repeated calls for her father. It's like a tiny heart tugging at the strings of the courtroom.
You believe her biological father is denying her?
Yes.
And so what are you telling her?
I don't know what to tell her, Your Honor.
Do you know that this young child is calling out for you, Mr. Hernandez?
Oh, Your Honor.
But you do not believe this is your biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Look at her. Look at your 3-year-old daughter. You haven't been there in 3 years.
All right, so pretty much this child is being at least emotionally abandoned. There's some need that she's calling out for and she's getting no response.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then comes a twist worthy of a daytime Emmy. A family member reportedly told Mr. Hernandez that Ms. Hernandez's ex was seen in their bed. This revelation fuels Mr. Hernandez's doubts about his paternity, linking directly to his distress and the trust issues within the marriage. And just like that, the courtroom turns into a scene straight out of a telenovela.
Someone told you her ex was in your bed
Yes.
while you're out fishing.
Yes.
Who told you that?
A family member.
How would they know who I had in my bed?
They seen him.
Yeah, coming out of the house because you and him are friends.
That's not
you
him.
know that he was at my house
It is
even
not
when
him.
you were
I'm
there
not talking
too.
about him.
So now you believe that he is Liana's biological father because
Yes,
you
Your Honor.
believe Ms. Hernandez was sleeping with her ex while you were out on this fishing boat.
Yes.
The mystery deepens with the saga of the birth certificate. The judge notes that the child's birth certificate does not bear Mr. Hernandez's surname, a point of contention that raises questions about the paternity and Ms. Hernandez's intentions at the time of birth. This detail underlines the ongoing suspicion and lack of trust between the couple. Everyone's on the edge of their seats, waiting to see how this document drama unfolds.
What is interesting to me is in the court records we have the birth certificate, and on the birth certificate, Liana does not have Mr. Hernandez's last name.
No, she does not. When
about
I
that?
was in the hospital after I had her, he wanted me to name her his last name. I didn't want to. Just in case something like this happened, he denied her.
There you go.
Now that's a first. You didn't give your child her father's last name.
Mr. Hernandez has his own version of events, and he's not shy about sharing. Mr. Hernandez explains his resistance to sign the birth certificate with his surname because of his doubts, compounded by the alleged comments from Ms. Hernandez's family members at the hospital. This interaction highlights the depth of his uncertainty and the complex family dynamics influencing the case. The courtroom feels more like a reality TV show set at this point.
Wanted to sign that birth certificate because I wanted her to have my last name, and now you tell him, well, you shouldn't have signed it then. But he's denying her because he has doubt. How do you know it's not true? Did they deny it? Did you confront them and they deny
I didn't know who it was.
But if you don't know who it was, how do you know it didn't happen?
I don't know why he's denying her, because she looks exactly like him when she was a baby, and now she looks like me.
In what feels like a climactic scene, the topic of parental rights comes to a head. In a heated exchange, Ms. Hernandez asks Mr. Hernandez to sign over his parental rights, revealing the extent of their estrangement and conflicting desires regarding the child's future. The tension underscores the emotional and legal complexities facing the family. Hold on to your hats, because this legal rodeo is just getting started.
She calls me and tells me to sign over the rights.
No, I asked you.
Full name to her.
Child is calling out for her daddy, and you say this is her daddy, but you're calling him and telling him to sign over his rights?
Yeah, because
She's seen the text message.
He has not supported his daughter or done anything to be in her life since.
Then how come
But he's on the birth certificate.
Yes, he's on
So
the
he
birth
is the
certificate.
legal father.
Yeah.
You can get state ordered child support.
He's on child support since February.
And bam, the truth is out.
Mr. Hernandez, you are the father.
Told you.
I can see that made you emotional. Do you feel a level of remorse and regret because he much
Yes.
missed 3 years of her life?
Yes.
The courtroom drama kicks off with Mr. Hunter dropping a bombshell. He's pretty convinced that Ms. Holden is pointing fingers at him as the daddy just because he's been opening his wallet a bit too often. Stick around, because Ms. Holden's clapback is just around the corner.
Mr. Hunter, you opened your case in paternity court because you say there is no way you fathered the defendant's son, Josiah. You worry she's only saying you did because of the financial security you provide for her. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Here comes Ms. Holden, stepping into the spotlight with a twist in her tale. She's been tossed some wonky medical advice, but now puts her chips all in, betting that Mr. Hunter is indeed the Papa Bear. Mr. Hunter's not buying it though. Up next, he spills why.
Ms. Holden, you admit you were confused about your son's biological father because you were given incorrect medical information, but you are 100% certain Mr. Hunter is the father.
Mr. Hunter lays it all out, showing he's not just here to play games. He's been Mr. Moneybags, covering everything from baby formula to those adorable tiny sneakers. But hang tight, his money moves have got more to the story.
So you pretty much stepped up as a father.
Yes, ma'am.
You have, but you have doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
But Miss Holden, has he gotten emotionally attached to Josiah as well?
Yes.
So he pretty much has accepted this child as his own?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just when you thought it was all about the money, there's a twist of emotions. Ms. Holden testifies to Mr. Hunter's emotional ties with little Josiah, despite the swirling paternity doubts. What's coming up will tug at your heartstrings and maybe even your funny bone.
You all are in a relationship.
Yes.
What kind of relationship?
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
You boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
So take me back to how this relationship started, because I'm trying to understand how you all are boyfriend and girlfriend, but you have doubts about the paternity, but you still accept and love and are attached to this baby like it's your own.
Yes.
Rewind to the start of this soap opera. Our lovebirds recount the fateful party that spun their friendly neighbor vibes into a full-blown romance, all kicked off by a birthday bash. But hold your horses. The tale takes a turn when booze and bad decisions enter the mix.
We lived on the same street. I met him when I was 15. We both was in a relationship. Then we both became single. I invited him over to my birthday party, and he offered to pay for the booth at the party and offered to buy the cake.
Well, that was a nice gesture for a friend, Mr. Hunter.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any benefits in the back of your mind that you were looking to get later?
No, ma'am.
As if the plot couldn't thicken anymore, here we dive into the murky waters of their relationship's beginnings. Were they cautious lovebirds or reckless romantics? Their memory seems as patchy as a bad internet connection. Up next, Ms. Holden drops a truth bomb that's a real doozy.
Yeah, but that
And
night,
one thing led to another.
that night we didn't sleep.
Yes, we did, Your Honor.
Okay, so on the birthday night, you said you did have sex. And Mr. Hunter, you say you did not.
Yeah, we didn't that night.
Yes, we did, Your Honor.
I'm not gonna say, I was like, well, let's move forward. So at some point, you all decide to date.
Yes.
Yes.
And you decide to continue on with a sexual relationship.
Yes.
So were you having sex with protection?
No.
Here we go.
The plot thickens, and so does the tension. Ms. Holden admits to playing the field, sans protection, adding layers to the paternity puzzle. Brace yourselves. Her next revelation is a game changer.
You all haven't agreed on one thing yet. Who said yes?
She said no. I said yes. We were using protection.
No, we wasn't.
Okay. You're having sex. One says you're using protection, one says you're not. Are you having sex with anybody else? Is this a committed relationship, or did you all fall into a sexual relationship without any foundation of a commitment?
We were just friends.
Hold on to your hats, folks, because the pregnancy plot twist is a real roller coaster. Amidst a flurry of mixed signals and sleepy confessions, Ms. Holden breaks the news to Mr. Hunter, who's got feelings about it. What happens next? You guessed it. It gets even messier.
I called him over, and he came over, and I was so sleepy, and he was like, you must be pregnant because I'm sick. He was telling me he was sick, and I was like, yes. And then he was like, oh, you just broke my heart. And then I was like, well, I'm sorry.
Why did it break your heart that she was pregnant?
I didn't want to have no more kids because I have kids.
Just when you think it couldn't get more convoluted, it does. Ms. Holden explains the name game debacle with changing due dates that would baffle even a seasoned mathematician. Fasten your seatbelts. The hospital saga is up next, and it's a bumpy ride.
Ms. Holden, did you know Mr. Hunter had doubts all this time?
Yes.
Did you invite him to the hospital for the birth?
No, ma'am.
You didn't?
No, ma'am.
This is confusing. Now, you're paying for everything, but you don't want to get attached because of your previous paternity situation.
Right.
But you're accepting his support, right, Ms. Holden?
Yes,
But
Your
you
Honor.
don't invite him to the hospital?
No, he dropped me
I didn't want
off.
to come anyway. I mean,
Imagine this. Mr. Hunter, the potential dad, makes a hospital run, but opts out of the delivery room drama. He's got his reasons, tangled in a web of past paternity perplexities. But wait, there's more chaos to come with the birth certificate revelation.
The baby that could be yours,
right.
but you didn't go upstairs
No.
to participate.
No.
Did you put Mr. Hunter's name on the birth certificate, Ms. Holden?
No, Your Honor.
Did anybody bring a copy of that birth certificate?
evidence.
I'd like to see that. Jerome, hand me that evidence, please. This is Josiah's birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hunter, is that your last name under?
No, ma'am.
Whose last name is that, Ms. Holden?
The other guy.
The other guy.
And now, the moment of truth or confusion. The birth certificate doesn't feature Mr. Hunter's name, but another contender in this daddy dilemma. The plot thickens, and trust me, you'll want to see Mr. Hunter's reaction to this soap opera twist.
Jerome, hand me that evidence. Sure.
May I explain to you?
Yes, please explain to me,
Yeah.
Ms. Holden. You brought a calendar.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up to the calendar, please.
In November the 15th, this is when I slept with Mr. Hunter. I went to the doctor. My first due date they gave me was August 2nd.
Okay.
And then I went back to the doctor and they gave me August 9th. And I slept with the other man on the 18th of November.
Grab your tissues, because the feels are getting real. Mr. Hunter shares his heartfelt bond with the child, now calling him Dada, which stirs up all the daddy feels. But hold on, Ms. Holden is about to share something that will crank up the emotional dial.
Now, Mr. Hunter, when you heard her explain that story, did you feel more convinced that Josiah was yours?
No, Your Honor. I feel like it's more of a financial than anything because you got the dates they're all mixed up.
With Josiah coming 3 weeks early, 2 different men, 3 days apart, unprotected. It's called a window of conception for a reason. And so you're still within the window.
Okay.
You in the window of doubt and in the window of confusion.
DNA test time. Drum roll, please.
Mr. Hunter, you are not. So very sorry.
Sorry.
Mr. Hunter, I can see that hurt, and that's not the news I wanted to deliver today.
I'm going to still be in his life.
The courtroom kicks off with a bang. Here we go. The case begins with introductions that set the scene for a paternity squabble involving Ms. Harden and Mr. Nelson over their 2-month-old Sophia Nelson. Ms. Harden steps up, hoping to patch things up with Mr. Nelson, who's in total denial about being Sophia's dad. She's hoping to twist his arm, figuratively of course, into helping raise their daughter. Stay tuned, because Mr. Nelson's got a real zinger coming up.
Ms. Harden, you have opened your case today in hopes of saving your relationship with the defendant. You say, due to a misunderstanding, he is now denying your 2-month-old daughter, Sophia Nelson. You are certain is the father, and once proven, you want his help raising your daughter.
Mr. Nelson drops a bombshell. He's 1000% sure he's not the dad and claims he's got the real dad's name in his back pocket. Meanwhile, Ms. Harden shares her struggles, painting a picture of Mr. Nelson as the ghost dad who won't even touch a diaper. It's like he thinks baby stuff is lava. What's next? The judge dives into their backstory, and you won't believe what comes out.
You refuse refuse to lift a finger for a child that isn't yours. You say you are 1,000% certain you are not Sophia's biological father and claim that you know who is.
Delonte doesn't help me with anything. He doesn't help me financially. He won't pick up a diaper. He won't watch her for 15 minutes while I go through it. When she cries, he'd be like, hey, get your daughter. Your daughter crying. Your daughter wants you. Get her, get her. He don't help me at all.
Dive deeper into soap opera territory here. The judge starts digging into how Ms. Harden and Mr. Nelson's roller coaster started in Louisiana and made a pit stop in Arkansas. Ms. Harden shares her tale of emotional baggage and why she followed Mr. Nelson despite many red flags. Buckle up, because Ms. Harden is about to spill some real emotional tea.
I met her when I went down to Louisiana with my family. I thought she was cool. She wanted to move with me to Arkansas.
Wait a minute, how did we get there?
Right. No, that is not. No.
Yes, it is.
So how did it happen, Ms. Harden?
When he came down to visit with his family members, we became friends first, and then when it was time for him to go back to Louisiana with his family, do you want to come with me or do you want to stay?
How long was he there?
He was there for a couple of months.
Tissues out, folks. Ms. Harden gets real about her loneliness and how Mr. Nelson seemed like a beacon of hope despite not being the kid type. She hoped their baby might cement their shaky relationship. Emotional much? Just wait till you hear about the delivery room drama.
That's all right. We come here to tell the truth. And if that's your truth, you say it.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were feeling alone in the world?
Yes. Yeah, and I never really had nobody in my life talk to me. Nobody, they would like talk, but they wouldn't listen where I was coming from. They didn't listen to what I had to say, and he was there for me, and I gravitated towards it.
Hospital room showdown. The birth of Sophia only cranks up the tension as Mr. Nelson questions the baby's paternity right off the bat based on her looks and storms out of the hospital. If you thought that was intense, just wait until Mr. Nelson pulls out his exhibit of doubt.
It was semi there, I call it.
At least I was there. But
that don't count. That don't count. He watched her be pushed out. He waited for my daughter to be weighed and wiped off, and he told me, that's a white man's baby, and walked out of the hospital room.
What?
She came out like really like.
That's how she came out.
She didn't look like that.
She been in the womb.
Come on, I'm black though.
Here comes the conspiracy theory. Mr. Nelson lays out his case with a tale of suspicious exes crashing at their place, complete with texts that could rival any daytime drama. He's convinced the texts between Ms. Harden and her ex are more than friendly. Strap in, because we're about to bring Mr. Patterson into the mix, and the plot's about to thicken.
And you've brought an exhibit to outline that doubt. Am I correct? Please step up to the monitor.
It all started. We went back to Arkansas, got our own place together. Around that time, her ex-boyfriend John and his baby mother, which is Rachel at the time, didn't have nowhere to go, so they wanted to come stay with us. But that being her ex-boyfriend, I thought it was disrespectful. I said no. She still went along with it anyway, and I found that suspicious. Was your ex and y'all had relations? Why would you want to be under the same roof as him with me?
Enter the ex. Mr. Patterson hits the stand, denying all baby daddy allegations, but the tension's so thick you could cut it with a knife. As accusations fly, the courtroom turns into a pressure cooker of he said, she said. Think it can't get more twisted? Wait until Rachel steps up and adds her 2 cents.
Eventually, they left. I came back. Everything was cool. I thought, everything's fine. I wasn't, suspecting none because I had no proof until I went through her phone and I found text messages of John texting her, hey, baby, you want some more? How you doing? This.
What?
Yeah.
You want some more?
She denied it. 3 weeks later, found out she pregnant.
And then 3 weeks after that,
went to the doctor. The doctor said she was 2 months pregnant.
Just when you thought it was a wrap, Rachel throws a curveball into the mix. She testifies about jealousy, miscommunications, and a hubby who might just be stirring the pot for kicks. The web of intrigue just keeps growing. Hold on to your hats because the DNA results are up next, and they're about to drop some truth bombs.
The back and forth calls with Pinky. Pinky's called me a week and a half ago, telling me that John was obsessed with the fact of thinking that her kid is his. I guess trying to make me jealous. Because me and John got in an argument one time, and then he was being petty, and he was like, ha ha, the baby is mine. He told me that. But we were arguing. We were arguing about
But I
lies after lies.
Though, of him
But you would tell me one thing and tell Delonte something different every time.
He has
Drum roll, please. The DNA results are in. And guess what?
it has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Nelson. You are the biological father.
The courtroom is buzzing with anticipation as the session begins. The judge coolly calls everyone to settle down, throwing in a cheeky welcome. Jerome, the court officer, steps up to announce the case of Cohen versus Cohen, all about a spicy paternity dispute. The crowd and participants share a lively exchange of greetings. Buckle up. This is just the warm-up.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Cohen versus Cohen.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Mrs. Cohen, you have opened your case to prove to your husband that he is the father of your 1-year-old son, Kyrie. You say your marriage is on the verge of divorce.
Mrs. Cohen steps up to the plate, ready to swing at the paternity pitch. She passionately opens her case, determined to prove Mr. Cohen is the father of Kyrie, their 1-year-old son. She's convinced that his denial is driving their marriage straight toward divorce cliff. Mr. Cohen counters, accusing Mrs. Cohen of bringing another player into their home field. Things are heating up. Let's see where this emotional roller coaster takes us.
Mr. Cohen, you say your wife brought another man into your home and had sex with him under your roof.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim your trust has been shattered and you're enduring the ultimate betrayal of not knowing whether or not Kyrie is your son.
Mrs. Cohen is all about saving the sinking ship that is their marriage. She's on a mission, folks, asserting her faithfulness. She's desperate to prove the paternity of their son, recounting their love story that started way back in high school. Mr. Cohen, however, is wallowing in the shattered remains of his trust, deeply pained by the swirling paternity doubts. Drama alert. The stakes are as high as the emotions.
What is the current status of your marriage?
Right now, I'm trying to save my marriage because we are on the verge of divorce. I want to prove to him that he is the father of our 1-year-old son. He's my high school sweetheart. We met in the 10th grade.
The judge digs deeper, turning the spotlight on their rocky relationship. She probes about the current rocky state of their union. Mrs. Cohen sees a glimmer of hope for reconciliation, despite their looming divorce. She shares the deep cuts from Mr. Cohen's accusations, feeling unpretty after baby duty. Next up, we've got more juicy details that you won't want to miss.
And I just really want to prove to him and his family members that he is the father of our 1-year-old son.
What are you feeling right now?
I'm just hurt a lot because he makes it seem like I'm just the only one that's out here cheating when he's the one cheating too. Like, he made me feel like less of a woman when I had our 1-year-old son.
Mr. Cohen takes the emotional stage, spilling the beans on their tumultuous love saga. He candidly shares how both parties contributed to their love's demolition derby, his paternity doubts casting a long shadow over his heart. He confesses his early reluctance in his roles as husband and father, which only tossed more grenades into the fray. Don't go anywhere. The tea keeps spilling.
Mr. Cohen, you hear your wife is saying that you all have both pretty much destroyed the relationship together, but now this paternity question is taking it over the top. I see tears in your eyes.
Yes, sure.
It matters to you.
Yes.
What are you feeling?
I'm just really hurt right now that we had to come this far to get these answers.
Secrets spill as Mr. Cohen reveals his late-night sleuthing adventure. He admits to using Mrs. Cohen's sleeping fingerprint to unlock her phone, diving deep into her digital world. His discovery of a mysterious note with names, including a stranger, cranks up his doubts to 11. Strap in, folks. This emotional thrill ride takes another wild turn just ahead.
Mr. Cohen, how did you find out your wife was cheating?
I went through Jasmine's phone one day after we got back together. Her phone was locked. She had a passcode on it. I used all Jasmine's 10 fingers on her finger to unlock her iPhone. She had a lock on her phone with her finger.
Right, so how did you use her fingers?
She was asleep at the time, and I put her finger on the phone, and she continued to stay asleep.
As the plot thickens, Mrs. Cohen's pregnancy timeline comes under the microscope, matching up suspiciously with their break. She confesses to a rendezvous with another man during their time apart, defending her actions as payback for Mr. Cohen's own escapades. The plot's as tangled as a bowl of spaghetti. Let's see how they try to untangle this mess in the next clip.
I went to Instagram, I typed in the guy's name, and his name popped up first. I clicked on that picture, and
How do you know it was the guy?
I went into his DMs, and I was like, "You're having a baby, sir." And he replied back to me, acting like he knew exactly who I was. No, I only slept with her one time, and that's not my child, her being pregnant or anything. And then he blocked me.
Fair, I was already pregnant when I slept with him.
Enter the medical expert throwing a curveball into the mix. He steps up to unpack Mr. Cohen's diabetes and its potential impact on his swimmers. Despite the health hiccup, the expert clarifies that Mr. Cohen's fathering odds, though slimmed down, aren't out for the count. The tension's building. Will science tip the scales in this paternity puzzle? Stick around, the big reveal is up next.
I have type 2 diabetes. I didn't have no insurance at the time, so it was uncontrolled, meaning my sugars were always high. So every time I would eject, my semen would become weird and it can't travel right.
So how I get pregnant, Corey?
Well, I was about to say, you all do have another child together, right?
Yes, Your Honor. I didn't have diabetes at the time.
It's D-Day as the DNA results are finally unveiled.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Cohen, you are the father.
Oh my God. Everybody can follow me.